And the screen thing came about because I was in Milan at a film market flogging a horror movie called Dark Waters. And this movie was made by a mutual friend of Louisa and I called Mariano Beno. And I was over there flogging this film. And I saw a friend of mine from back in the day when
she was, sorry to interrupt, she was an actress in Dark Waters, am I right?
Lou was the lead in Dark Waters, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. I just wanted to bring that in, yeah.
Yeah, she must have been, I'm just trying to think. It was in 93, I think, Dark Waters was made. And it was made in Kiev in Russia. And it was made for $400,000, if I'm right, $400,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, Mariano lives in New York now. And Dark Waters played recently in Brooklyn, in a theater in Brooklyn. It's got a huge fan base. It's a very Dario Argento-esque, cultish kind of movie. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very like 1990s, early 90s, but people love it. And Lou was the. What happened was Mariano couldn't sell it. He was much more like creative. He couldn't work out how to flog this movie, and he was having dinner with us in where we used to live in Chelsea, London, and he said, "Nigel, why don't you sell this movie? You're such a salesman. I don't know why you just don't do it." And I said, "I haven't got a clue. I wouldn't know. I'm an actor. I don't know how to sell movies. Please, just read this book." So he gave me the A to Z of film sales, written by a guy called Dove S.S. Simmons. If you remember him, funny character.
That's not a name that I know, but I trust me, in that part of our world, I know quite a few.
Well, Dove, I bumped into at the last AFM. It was hilarious. So I've since moved to the States, and Dove, was back in London doing these 2-day workshops for producers. And we were all kids, but he'd come into, if I believe it was then, Soho House's club now in Notting Hill. He came in and he said, "How many of you guys are producers? Put your hands up." And we were all so British. We were just sitting there, not really. And he's like, "Right, lesson number 1. Everyone put their damn hand up. You're all producers." Yeah.
I love that. But unfortunately, as we know, after years of doing this, that's sort of true.
Totally. He was like, "Listen, go get yourself a business card and go get yourself a canister of film, and then you're a filmmaker." And, it was pretty much that. So anyway, Mariano gave me this book, and it had about 3 or 4 examples of, the classic film sale. And we set up a screening in London at 20th Century Fox. We took in the negative, as you did back in the day. And we invited all the local distribution companies in London, from Blue Dolphin, 20th Century Fox, Metro Tartan, gosh, all these names that some are still around and some have gone. And there was one guy called Hamish McAlpine, who's a very dear friend of mine still to this day, who just had a twinkle in his eye when he came out of the cinema, and came walking up to me and said, "I really enjoyed that, really enjoyed it." And I knew he was the one. And I took his hand and I said, "Listen, here's my card." I said, I'd love to talk to you more about it. When are you available? And he said, "Come to the office tomorrow. And I'm on Wardour Street." And I said, "Okay, absolutely." That morning, Mariano and I step into the office of Metro Tartan, which was then one of the most exciting distribution companies in London. It was a really cool company. They did all of the Criterion type movies and the sort of foreign language movies, and they just had a really great aesthetic. And Hamish was the son of Lord McAlpine, who was a multi-millionaire property developer. So he came from sort of aristocracy. I mean, he gave this like impression that he was a viscount himself. He's a very camp, wonderful character. And sat down and he said, "Well, what are you looking for?" And I regurgitated from my memory, example number 3 from Dove's book. It was like, "Well, we want I can't even remember what it was, 40% this and that. And he said, okay, so how much do you want up front? And I said, well, if we could have, this. And I slipped a piece of paper over and it had the figure on it. And he said, I'll give you half in a check now, and I'll give you the other half in 3 months when you deliver all of the assets. And we walked out of that office with £25,000 in our pocket. And that was the first deal I'd ever done in '93 with a little low budget horror movie. And